Lesson 4.5, halfway through chapter 4 now. So we've been working with multiplying fractions. Well, now we're going to learn to convert larger units to smaller units and smaller units to larger units. And when I'm talking about units, we're talking about yards to feet, feet to yards, inches to feet, that type of thing. So we have two vocabulary words today. The first one is unit ratio. Now a unit ratio is when the denominator is 1 unit. That's your unit ratio. So if I have 3 feet in 1 yard, so 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. That is a unit ratio. The denominator is 1. Okay, the second one is called dimensional analysis. Now, dimensional analysis is the process of including units of measurement as factors when you compute. Now you'll need to write both of these down. So the denominator is 1 unit. This is unit ratio. And dimensional analysis is this one. Now dimensional analysis is almost easier just to show you than it is to try and explain what it is. So as we go through this, I'll explain what dimensional analysis is. Alright, so for your first one, I thought it would be kind of nice to not have to listen to me. So your first example is going to be done by Mrs. Dawson, and she will show you the first example and explain how we're going to be using these unit rates and dimensional analysis.
This is Mrs. Dawson. Convert smaller units to larger units. Convert 64 ounces into pounds. We know that 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. So the unit ratio is 16 ounces over 1 pound, or its reciprocal is 1 pound over 16 ounces. We'll need to decide which one of these unit ratios to use to convert 64 ounces into pounds. 64 ounces is our original amount, and we'd like our answer to be in pounds. We need a fraction that will have ounces in the denominator and pounds in the numerator, because then we'll be able to divide out the common units. The unit ratio, 1 pound over 16 ounces, allows us to do that. 64 ounces times 1 pound divided by 16 ounces leaves us with 4 pounds. So, 64 ounces equals 4 pounds.
Okay, so a unit ratio can be written as 16 ounces over 1 pound, or you can use the reciprocal. Remember, reciprocal means to flip it. So a unit ratio is what we're going to be using today. Also, this whole example right here is dimensional analysis. So we took, and instead of just doing 64 times 1 divided by 16, we used ounces and pounds. So dimensional analysis is where we actually label what our numbers mean. So 64 ounces means 64 ounces. That's our dimensional analysis. 1 pound over 16 ounces, that's using dimensional analysis. Okay? let's move on and do another one. So convert 20 feet to inches. So since 1 foot equals 12 inches, the unit ratio is 12 inches over 1 foot. So when we do 20 feet, we want to make sure that our feet can cross simplify or cross cancel. We've talked about that the last couple of lessons. So we divide out the common feet or cross cancel the feet. Now we're left with 20 times 12. We multiply that out and we get 240 inches. So 20 feet equals 240 inches. Okay, here's your first journal question. This is for you. Convert 2 miles to feet. Remember to use the unit ratio, and I'll help you on this one too because there are 5,280 feet in each mile. Okay, so there's your unit ratio, or you could put it under, and you will for your problem put it under. So 1 mile. Okay, so 5,280 feet per mile. Okay, write that one down in your journal. Marcos mixes 1/4 cup of fertilizer with soil before planting each bulb. How many fluid ounces of fertilizer does he use per bulb? So 1/4 cup equals 1/4 cup. There is 8 fluid ounces per cup, so our unit ratio is 8 fluid ounces over 1 cup. And then we just multiply it straight across. We've got your cups out, so all we're left with now is ounces, and that's what we want to be in our answer. So when we multiply that out, that equals 2 fluid ounces. So 2 fluid ounces of fertilizer are used per bulb. Okay, here's your second one. For your journal. At the grocery store, Miranda weighs 1/2 pound of green beans for a recipe she wants to make. How many ounces of green beans did Miranda weigh? Okay, again, I'll help you out on this one. So we have 16 ounces, and OZ is our shortened ounces per 1 pound. Okay, so 16 ounces per pound. So there's your unit rate. I'll help you out with that again. And write that one in your journal. You got it down? If not, stop the video. Moving on. Convert 15 quarts to 3 gallons. So again, we need to know how many quarts are in a gallon. Since 1 gallon equals 4 quarts, and quarts are smaller units than gallons, we use the ratio 1 gallon over 4 quarts. Remember in our first example, she showed us how we can use the reciprocal so that our 1 is now in the top instead of the denominator. So 15 quarts equals 15 quarts times 1 gallon over 4 quarts, because we want to be able to cross cancel our quarts, and we have to do that by having a denominator and a numerator. So 15 quarts, cross cancel the quarts, and now we're just left with gallons. 15 times 1/4 gets us 3.75 gallons. So 15 times 1 is 15. Nothing times 4 is 4, so 15 divided by 4 gets us 3.75, or that would also come out to be 3 3/4 if you're reading it as a fraction. I will accept either answer. Okay, here is your third question for your journal. Convert 11 cups to pints. Oops, that says 2 pints. This is 2 pints. Okay, how many cups are in a pint? Do you remember? Think of gallon now. Well, there are 2 cups for every 1 pint. Okay, so there's your unit rate. You may have to use the reciprocal of it. You'll have to see what your final answer needs to be. Okay, that's your third one for your journal. Now we have Mr. Rutherford. He's going to go through one more example, and then that'll be the end of our video. So let's watch this last example.
Hi, this is Mr. Rutherford. In this problem, we will learn to convert smaller units to larger units. Woodworking. Michael needs 7 1/2 feet of plywood for his woodworking project. How many yards of plywood does he need? So in this problem, we need to convert our 7 1/2 feet to yards. One thing that's important to keep in mind is that 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. So we can write then a unit ratio of 1 yard to 3 feet, and we can multiply that by our total number of feet, which is 7 1/2 feet. Now when we multiply these two, notice that our units, our feet, will cancel one another out. So now we have 1 yard to 3 times, then I need to change this to an improper fraction. 7 times 2 is 14 plus 1 is 15 over 2. And we can multiply straight across, and here we have 15 over 6 yards. Now we can simplify 15 over 6 to 5 over 2, or as an improper fraction, it's 5 over 2. As a mixed number, that would be 2 1/2 yards. So Michael has 7 1/2 feet of plywood, or 2 1/2 yards. Hi, this is...
Okay, this is your last one for your journal. Yumika needs 4 1/2 feet of fabric to make a costume for a play. How many yards of fabric does she need? So this is your final one. Hopefully you made it through this video. Remember, you need the date and the lesson. Lesson is 4.5. And write a sentence along with the 2 vocabulary words of something you learned in this lesson. Thanks and have a great night.